I'm Hayden. I'm 18. I'm young. I'm sort of just got into youth work, and I'm the trainee youth worker at Top Blokes down in the Illawarra.
Fantastic, man. 18 and you're
Yeah,
into it.
yeah.
How did
very young.
how did it all come about, and why did you start wanting to?
So my personal sort of journey into sort of youth work, I'd say, started when I was a bit younger, and I probably was dealt somewhat of a rough hand growing up as a young child. And my auntie was actually a youth worker herself, and she's been in the game for a while now, and I had always sort of those little experiences with her and in and around the job and stuff like that as I was sort of growing up. But a couple things happened when I was younger, passing my mother and stuff like that, and sort of the lack of a father figure around, sort of made me feel like I was needing that sort of mentor and that figure. And when I was living up here on the Central Coast at school, I was put in a program called Top Blokes, and
Yeah.
I went through the 18-week program over the 2 terms with a group of boys, and went through, and I graduated Top Blokes in year 9, and that was sort of the start of where I found my passion for youth work, and the fact that I could use my story and what I've been through to help benefit other young men was inevitably my goal and what I wanted to do in life. And sort of seeing what my auntie was able to do and being in and around her with at work and stuff like that, and in a couple programs she would run and stuff like that, I saw how people who have been through tough things in life can use their story to help benefit others. And I thought, going through and growing up, it wasn't always as easy talking to people who may not have had lived experiences and stuff like that. So for me, someone who's lived through some of the stuff a lot of the boys talk about and struggle through that we have in programs, and I can really relate to that and stuff. And I feel like that's my sort of passion, is the fact that I can relate and help young men that I was sort of where I was, because I was sort of in their position at one point in time, and I know how they feel and what they're going through, and if I can do anything to help them,
Dude, 18, you speak very well.
Thank you.
Very well. Great
I
communicator.
try.
Man, I don't even have to ask any questions. You're just telling me everything, which is so good. But honestly, man, well done to you. 18, and you established how you want to contribute and help in this world.
Sure.
And you can only always get better from here. Let me talk a little bit about that experience within the Top Blokes program for yourself. How do you feel like you were when you first got into it, and then as it progressed, how did it kind of open you up a little bit, if you can remember?
It is tough to remember. It was a while back now, but I definitely remember sort of. I was a bit of what I call a bit of a bad egg in high school, and growing up I wasn't sort of the ideal student growing up, and I sort of lacked. I felt what was a bit of guidance at time, and a male role model, I feel, and I feel that's what sort of Top Blokes provided for me personally with my mentors, was 2 men who I could relate to personally on a deeper level, and I could talk to them about certain things that they were once feeling during their time in life, and I could relate to them, and there was that relation there, and that rapport, and that rapport builds. And once that sort of happens over the 20 weeks, your walls come down. I notice it now, sort of being in programs and seeing it on the other side now. It's really cool to see the transition from week 1 to when we graduate, the transition of the boys from sort of, it's the fear of for me it was the fear of the unknown, sort of not knowing what I was in for, and kind of being like, well, what's this? What am I doing here? And I feel it's a common misconception among boys when they sort of join the program, is it's a naughty boys program, where it's not. It's a leadership program. It's actually for boys where the school sees all these great qualities and values. You just might need a bit of guidance or help to untap that sort of potential that's there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where I was at. I sort of needed that guidance and that figure to just help me give a bit of guidance to lead me down the path that I inevitably wanted to go down, and I'm living out now, which is awesome.
Isn't that such a compliment? Is like once you realise that, you know, when you probably were selected to do this program or to be nominated to do this program, like now you're realising, like, you know, no, they saw something good in me to kind of go ahead. And also you do acknowledge that, and that's really, really cool.
Well, it's great to see the boys also in program acknowledge that, and once you get the boys in and you talk to them about the fact that, look, you were chosen because you boys have pull, you have responsibility, you command respect over your peers and stuff like that. It's these boys, you see them go, oh wow, like, so people see a lot in me, because I know a lot of the boys we work with might not have that, might not get that sort of faith given to them and stuff. So it's great to see and for them to feel that faith, that they have that potential and all those qualities, that they just need that little bit of guidance and help to untap.
Did you do it with a bunch of friends, or did you, like, when you did it, was it like complete stranger, or like, not say complete strangers because it was all through school?
Yeah.
Was it people that you weren't really associating with?
No, my group was sort of, we were all chucked in as sort of a group of boys, and it was us Year 9 boys, and like, yeah, they sort of chucked us all in there and in as one big group, and that's why now as a mentor, I sort of try to make a mental note of those sort of boys that I feel don't sort of get their say, and try and let them have their say and give them that safe space to have their say and let their opinions be heard, because a lot of these boys have great answers, have great things to say. It's just building up that courage, that bit of anxiety that's there. They don't really want to break that little barrier and get it out there, but their response and their actual, response to the question is phenomenal. So,
what was something that surprised you of the program when you went through? That's something that you didn't really think that was going to happen, and it kind of like, you're like, oh wow, like that was...
Yeah, for sure. My ability to buy in and engage. I was never, I've always been it's pretty hard to keep me sort of still in a classroom, and keep me sat down and going and engaged for the hour. So I feel like for me, the biggest surprise was actually how well the mentors are able to keep a group of young men engaged and for the whole sort of 18 weeks, because I know at a lot of schools we go to, a lot of the common like response is, oh, you guys will be lucky if you can get these boys sitting in the classroom for the whole period. And it's like, well, it's, if you really help these boys and let them understand and give them these different aspects to sort of learn and educate themselves, they actually stay really engaged and are really excited to actually learn and get there and discover about themselves.
What was one big takeaway that you had going through that program, and then we'll transition into you becoming what you do now? What was one big takeaway that you took from the program?
For me personally, it was sort of, people sort of had, there was faith in me, and people saw what I may not have seen in myself, and at the time it was hard to see that, and I may not have seen it sort of going on, and might feel a bit lonely at certain times, but to come in and be reassured that you're really cared about, and there's a lot of people in this world, and there's mentors here who are here to help you, it's a great sort of feeling.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So then that transition into doing what you do, how was that all, like, how and why did that all come about? Was it from literally just the program that you were like, this is great, I want to just keep contributing?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it was sort of seeing that it's a pretty known thing in the world that young men, especially in the world, young men struggle with things, and often find it hard to express themselves and share things about themselves. And I feel like places like Top Blokes, where we can sit around as a group of boys and have that sort of safe space to talk about topics that usually won't get spoken about. Like, for example, I like to always use my little saying of like, young men are always angry but never taught how to deal with their anger. You know what I mean? Where we're always angry but never taught how to cope with it, how to deal with it, unless we're put in these sort of safe spaces like a Top Blokes workshop where we can speak about those things, our own stresses, our own responses, our own personal different ways to bring ourselves down. Because I know, for me personally, growing up, I was sort of I'd say an angry kid, and would often struggle to find healthy ways to express my anger.
Yeah.
And it would often result in me acting out of aggression and stuff like that. And I remember coming into Top Blokes and sort of breaking down the whole sort of stigma in a way of anger. The fact that it's not okay to be angry and all this stuff, but it actually is okay to be angry. And anger is just an emotion. It's just when that anger turns into aggression and you start acting out of aggression because you're angry is where that stuff becomes a problem. And the ability to calm myself down and learn those sort of different strategies to bring myself down was really effective and helped me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And so far, how many kind of like terms or how many programs have you done personally?
So I've just finished off about my second term, so that's about just about 20 weeks or so about half the year, just under half the year. I've loved every minute of it. It's been awesome to like be in the field and be hands-on, working with the boys in workshops. And
was it easy to kind of relate to them a lot more because you've already been through it personally?
Yeah, definitely. And I see that in a lot of the boys. When we do our introduction and our meet and greet, we do a 2 truths, 1 lie. And one of my truths is I participated and I went through the Top Blokes Foundation in the program, and a lot of the boys are like, huh, that's weird. One, because they think I'm 34 and Top Blokes wasn't a thing when I was a kid, but so to see this sort of surprise on their face is awesome. And I feel like it really helps me build that rapport with the boys, because I can often pull on experiences where I was like, I know what you guys are going through. I know that what you guys, for example, might be going through a tough 5 minutes in the workshop, but I know that there's a fun game coming up that I know I personally enjoyed. I can draw on my experiences from my experiences going through the program, and to be able to understand and what the boys are going through at that point in time, and almost what a couple of them are thinking in that space is really beneficial.
Tell me, man, like, what's your favourite topic that you like to cover within the program at the moment?
There's definitely a few, but my sort of favourite to cover, it's more of one of our niche ones we run, but it's the realities of porn. So the first encounter with pornography is actually like 13. So you got to think, as a young man who might be going through life and experimenting for the first time and seeing porn, that's sort of you training your brain and you learning for the first time what sort of a sexual encounter is. So come around to what the average age of the first sexual encounter in Australia is about 16, 17. So you got to think, for young men who have been watching porn potentially for 3 to 4 years, it's sort of this misconception, misconstrued sort of what it's supposed to be and what it actually is. So a lot of these young men go in with these thoughts and these realities of what it's supposed to be, and it isn't. And a lot of it can lead to things like erectile dysfunction and stuff like that, where guys find it hard to do things because they have ideas and already made up sort of realities of what their experiences should be like.
You being a youth worker now, being through the program, what's some advice for some young guys out there, especially with everything that you do now?
Definitely. One bit of advice I would give young men, sort of, stay open-minded in life. Just in general, whether it's taking on challenges, joining a program, stuff like that. Stay open-minded in whatever you're doing, and always be open to change and open to what might happen, because great beautiful things might come from whatever you take part in and stuff like that. So yeah, if I could give any sort of young bloke a bit of advice, would be stay open-minded. it.